Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited about this conversation. Today, I have Lizi. Lizi is a friend. Lizi is a colleague. Lizi is a peer. I found out Lizi also lives in San Diego recently, which she moved from Colorado, right? And I
Yes.
moved from Canada. We've been friends forever. And I'll tell you why I love Lizi. So there's a little bit of the corporate, right? She has 20 years of experience supporting individuals and teams with safety, effectiveness, impact. She's a master certified coach. I am a professional certified coach, which takes about 1,000 hours. She's done 4,000 hours of coaching in the US. I really want to talk with Lizzie today. She is also a certified Dare to Lead facilitator. And if you know me, you know how much I love Dr. Brené Brown's work. A lot of my work has been really impacted by her research. I believe so much in Daring Greatly. You're also certified in Rising Strong, certified facilitator. So I'm really, really excited, Lizzie, to speak with you about cultural diversity and what you're seeing with your clients. Welcome to the Bad Boss Show.
Thank you, Anya. Thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. And I love what Lizzie brought when I usually we have about 10, 15 minutes behind the scenes where I get to connect with my guests and chat with them and ask them what's going on, what can I do? And when I asked Lizzie, I'm like, do you need anything from me or like some questions? Do we need to prep? And she said, no, because belonging is not about preparing. I'm just going to go and be myself. Right? Am
Yes.
I saying it correctly? Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about.
Yes.
Tell me more about belonging. I feel like it's such a huge topic right now. We talked so much about diversity and hiring diverse people and how to create inclusive environments. Belonging is this whole new concept that enter diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation. Can you share with our guests like what does belonging look like at work or what does it mean?
hmm Yes, sure. So for me, belonging means to be able to be yourself, to bring everything of who you are into your workplace without feeling that you need to change in order to fit in. So when
Mhm.
I belong in a place, I feel like I can be my authentic self, that I can speak up, that I can share my mind. And even if there is no agreement, there is no the need for me to change who I am in order
Yeah.
to be safe in that space.
And
Or
to perform, right? It's the performative.
yeah,
And I love talking about it because both you and I are immigrants and I have a lot of immigrants on my show and I think we are so good at adapting. Like we can adapt into any environment. So what do you know about that cultural diversity and like adapting and what's the cost to
mhm,
us and to organizations when we are kind of like performing to fit in?
yeah. So I think the cost is extremely heavy in everyone. So if I speak for myself as an immigrant, the when I just came here, I was able to enter to my workplace and read the room and really change everything about myself in order to fit in order to be promoted, in order to be taken in consideration, in order to be just accepted for who I am. The price of that was that I always came back home bitter.
Mm,
I was absolutely bitter. I was not nice to the people around me because when you don't belong, you use armor, right? You use something that will help you protect because the armor is
defense
overhead
mechanism, yeah.
in
Mhm.
order to be able to go with the flow. So the armor do not allow you to be your authentic self, and you suffocate. And then because you're all the time on stress, trying to rewrite the room, trying to do what other people are doing, I was going home so sad. A piece of me was not alive, and
Mm.
I am a live person. My energy is not
Yeah,
to keep it down. So I remember myself telling my husband many, many times, what do I do? And I needed the job. So I
yeah.
needed the job in order to leave. So I needed to put myself together and continue. What happened many times is that I was not my best at doing my work because I wasted a lot of energy, resources, and time on pretending and fitting in.
Yeah, to be
And
someone else.
yeah, so one time I remember we were in a staff meeting and an announcement was given about something that was related with my position. So the grant that we were expecting for my salary came in, and when they shared the news, my response was, I've been waiting for this news for many, many, many months. Could you have told me, come into your room, share this with me, because I have
Privately.
the stress here.
Yeah.
And my body automatically went to a protective mode, and it was really not accepted because I was shut down, and you could see that on the outside. And I
Mhm.
got an email sent to my inbox saying, this is the last time you behave like this on a staff meeting. Next time you go home. And I didn't do anything, Anya. It was just the way that I was seen from the outside, that I was hurt, but there was
Mhm.
no empathy for, okay, I understand you needed to hear this earlier. I apologize. So I recognize.
Yeah.
So that's the price for me. For the organization is that you don't perform at your best because all your energy is going towards surviving,
Yeah.
towards fitting in. So the price is very high: creativity, innovation, courageous conversations, things that we need so much. They are not happening because the energy is put on surviving.
Hmm. Yeah, and we know, right, when you're in a survival mode, I'm not gonna take a risk and appear stupid. I'm just gonna sit there quietly and hope somebody else asks the question or somebody else gives the feedback, and then people get upset. They're like, "Well, why didn't you say something? We were in that meeting. Everyone was quiet. Why didn't you say?" And like you said, I also like to bring like the power dynamic and say not everybody feels safe to lose a job. For some of us, we live paycheck to paycheck. So like to get mad at people who didn't feel safe to speak up their mind is like so I don't know, like crazy to me. And then also like what's the role that leaders play right in that meeting, because this is a show Bad Boss is all about bad bosses and good bosses. So what do you think the leaders could have done for you to feel that sense of belonging? What's in
Mhm.
the power of managers?
So there were a few leaders. I was blessed with an amazing supervisor that she was an immigrant. So she was super empathetic and super, super supportive of my development and my growth. The problem was with the board and with the executives. So
Yeah.
these people were not empathetic toward the immigrant community, and it was not, there was no, I want to use the term safety, but there was not empathy or compassion or understanding that we need that job, we need a place to be able to come without the heaviness that it's already hard to be an immigrant in
Yeah.
this country and in many, many other countries, because I've been an immigrant in other countries and it's hard.
Yeah.
So giving the opportunity to be yourself and appreciate your gifts, I believe that they needed to go through trainings and
Yeah.
more awareness about
Yeah.
who are the people that they are working with. Or, for example, instead of sending me that email, call me to your office with kindness and empathy and curiosity and ask me, why are you acting this way, instead
Yeah.
of putting an armor and sending me back home if I get to be my authentic self, because I was
Human.
hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. If I get to be human, like there's no place for humans. You have to be professional here. You know what's interesting? I definitely want to talk about cultural diversity, but here's what my experience has been. And I kind of like, I agree with you that there are a lot of things that leaders and team leads and supervisors and managers can do to get curious, to practice empathy, to not make assumptions, to create safe places. And while they can do all of that, sometimes I see that human beings, and I've kind of tested this theory with many, many groups, no matter what you do, they never feel like they belong anywhere.
Mm.
Would you agree that, and like, then what is organizational and what is my individual? What is it in me that doesn't ever allow me to feel like I belong? I always feel like an outsider no matter where I am. And what can we do as individuals to overcome that feeling of not belonging?
Well, I think that this is a bigger conversation about, childhood and family of origin and
Yeah,
things that we carry with our personal story and
yeah,
our experience in life. Because I really believe that if we have a story of not belonging at home, you know that can impact the rest of our lives.
yeah,
So the people that have a feeling that they do not belong at home, that is the core, the first place where we belong. If
yeah,
they don't do their work and then don't really tap into this pain that it is not belonging at home, you
yeah.
carry that everywhere, right? So my
We
my
just always feel like the other.
Yes, yeah. But, and sometimes we get really attached to that identity. I want to be the one that never belongs. I want to be the one, because what happens if I lose that identity? That identity can
Yeah,
serve me for some things. I don't know why. What? Because I haven't been in that place. But I really believe that if you do your work with coaching, with therapy, and you really want to belong, finding and owning your story. I love when Brené says that owning your story is the bravest and more and hardest thing you will do, but it's also the bravest. And
yeah,
you will be able to change the narrative that you have. So
yeah,
I will invite people that feel like this to really take a courageous step and look for help and look to challenge the narrative and create a new one. That this is what we do in Rising Strong, right? And part of their
mhm,
we help people to rewrite their narratives so they can live their lives with the best and their full potential
yeah.
authentically. It
Yeah,
is
thank you for
really,
reminder. Yeah. Brené Brown, like, read a book, Rising Strong by Brené Brown, if you are someone who struggles. And I know because this is my third country. And is it third country for you too?
yes.
Yeah. So it's like when I think of my childhood, I've lived in North America now longer than I lived in Europe. But I'm like, yeah, I don't identify with the country I was born in and with that culture. There are parts of me. I can't really call myself Canadian, even though I have Canadian citizenship and I've spent 20 years in Canada. I am super new to the US, so I'm not American either. And I definitely, like, even personal, I'm like, who am I and what is my story, right? And where do I belong? And just like that narrative. But again, like, for me, it's always fascinating because and it's been work, it's been a lot of work to feel like, okay, where do I belong? What is my community of people? And I think coaching and leadership development, interestingly enough, gave me that sense of community. It's like no matter where I am, I have so many friends who are phenomenal coaches around me, my colleagues, my peers, like, I don't know, HR community, leadership development community. So sometimes it's not geographical place. Sometimes it's not your family, because a lot of us grew up in dysfunctional families and they're like, I know myself included. It's like, I don't always resonate with the values of my family. Like, it
Mhm.
just, I'm different. I grew up in a different environment and a different world. So that's been fascinating to me.
Mhm. So, what will be, for example, the thing in common when you think about the places that you feel belonging, right? This is not your
Yeah.
family and it's not your country of origin. You have a lot of people around you that you feel like you belong. What is the common denominator there?
Authenticity. I
Okay.
think authenticity. And I think coaching is what allowed me to experience that raw, genuine authenticity and space to like fall apart and be okay. And people are like, we love you. That's okay. I don't need to save you. Like the whole idea, right? When we went through the coactive coaching and that people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, it was mind blowing. It's like, oh, you mean I'm okay? I'm not broken, but so are other people. we're all creative and whole and resourceful and kind find our way. So I think that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I think the first that comes to mind is ability, like again, to belong, to feel like I can be myself and be accepted for who I am, and be my imperfect self.
Yeah. Yeah, we grow up with so many messages about stereotypes, expectations, things that we need to do in order to feel like we belong
Yeah.
in our community, our society. So that kills our authenticity,
Yeah.
because if I need to do certain things in order to feel that I belong, I many times I don't want to do that. And I need to do that in order to belong.
Yeah.
So I believe that the wisdom of our work is to humanize the human experience, to
Yeah.
say to each other, it is okay to be everything you are,
Yeah.
and love these pieces of you that your family told you that you are not supposed to be doing, right? For example, in my experience was, you don't cry out loud. You need to cry in your room, isolated, by yourself,
Yeah.
and hide it because you don't look very pretty. Until I really realized through the coaching that people cry in front of each other and nobody's dying and nobody is,
And it's beautiful, right? And how beautiful it is.
and that created connection, right? Because so I relearned the meaning of giving a good cry, a cry with the whole heart, and it
Yeah.
was liberating.
Yeah.
So how do we challenge those messages that are keeping us close up instead of opening up and being our best version
Yeah.
forever? That is beautiful.
Yeah, wow. I love that. This is like I always say, like, these shows always take like a turn that I didn't expect to get so personal, but this work is personal, right? Especially when we talk about belonging, talk about cultural diversity, we talk about dimensions of our identities. Like you said, my nationality, my gender, my age is just like such a small part of who I am.
Mm,
There's so much more to us, like the multidimensionality, the range that we have, and giving people, yeah, opportunity to explore those dimensions. And really, I always say, like, what is your diversity story? Everybody
mm,
has a diversity story. What's yours? Like, those are the stories I'm interested in. So we are at about 17 minutes, and I like to keep it around 20. So I want to ask you one last question. With the hybrid work and thinking about all these teams that people are now managing all over the world, a lot of people who live in different parts of the world, that some people have never experienced working in the office, we're like everywhere. What are some, maybe two or three tips that you could give to leaders? How can they, I don't know what's the word, like, get more educated or equipped to lead culturally diverse teams?
mm. Well, my word will be curiosity.
Mhm.
Absolutely curiosity. Get curious about the person that you're gonna work with. I always, if I have clients all over the world, and before I agree to meet with them for a chemistry session, when they say I'm living in Pakistan or wherever it is, I get educated. I
Mm,
get educated about the culture, what is accepted for women and men, everything, holidays, for example. I really get how many hours we have differences. So I
yeah.
will see if I can work with this person or not, because I want to honor their families and their needs, and I want to honor my family and my needs. So I get curious. And then if you don't know, they are talking with you and you don't understand, you don't know what they say, ask. Don't pretend that you understood. Don't
Mhm.
pretend. That will come after you at one point. That for sure, ask. And owning the fact that I don't know everything about every culture makes me more human.
Yeah. Yeah. And that nobody can expect that, right? Nobody can expect for me to like pretend. So what do you think about, we kind of go back to those like assumptions, right? Because I do think that assumptions create a lot of conflict. They will, create some like interesting situations. So I love that you're bringing that curiosity. And how do we like the balance? We talked a little bit about it because I'm always, sometimes clients ask me, they're like, Anya, can you come and talk to our people? I'm not going to call the name because it's a very famous name, but it's one of the famous dealerships. And they said, hey, can you come and teach our salesmen, educate them on the Persian culture? Because we have a lot of community, like a Persian community buying cars. And I always have a problem with that because to me, it means that, hey, this is how you can be educated. But that curiosity is what leads you to treat them as human beings. Because guess what? Maybe I speak Farsi, and yet I could have been born and raised in London, England. So
Mm-hmm.
what? Like I've never lived in Iran, for example, but my heritage cultural, right? So where do managers, I feel like almost need to be careful with educate yourself and get to know the person, not just their, where they're from.
Yeah, I think that will come up in the dealer. That will be not genuinely, really, really what they
Exactly.
want. So I always really recommend be genuine, connect with the human as human. Then you are the leader. Every leader, first and foremost, is a human. They use armor to pretend they are, whatever is their position. But if they are defined by their position, they are hiding behind armor. If you are genuinely interested in people, no matter where you sit. And that's why, how do you define the leader and what does that means for your organization,
Hmm.
says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And so that place of, I will learn about this culture because I'm interested on making more business with them, that is not genuine.
Yeah.
That
And
is
it
from
will
a
come across as disingenuine.
Yeah, so that will come across in the conversation because you will
Yeah.
like to, to tell things that are important for them. You are not really
Yeah.
there with your whole heart trying to connect with that
Yeah.
human. So for me,
Exactly.
that is a lot of the leadership
Yeah.
work that I do. Is I invite the leaders to bring their human piece, understanding that yes, we need to understand that we are different titles, different responsibilities, different obligations, but that doesn't mean that we don't bring that piece of ourselves, the curiosity, the
Yeah.
humanness, to our work.
Yeah, because we know defensiveness, right, it creates that mistrust with employees. Like people are not stupid. Everybody can feel energy, and people can feel when you're being genuine and really curious and when you're just doing it to check the box. Thank you so much. This was such a good conversation, in some ways unexpected. I almost feel like, yeah, of course, I've been talking with the coach. Of course, they're going to ask me powerful questions. So thank you for bringing it home for both of us and being vulnerable with me and sharing your story and how, you came to do this work. I really appreciate what you do for your community in the world and how involved you are, and just love witnessing, the impact you're having all over
Thank
the world. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And, we can always meet again.
Yes, and if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna tag Lizi on LinkedIn. She is in my connections. Feel free to reach out to her because I know she'll be happy to answer any of the questions you might have.
Yeah.
Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.